Hi guys, it's Xee and Cyn, and today we're reacting to the Falklands War, and we got this from Oversimplified. The link will be in the description below. Please make sure to go ahead and show them some love and check out their video too, because that is the original video that we're reacting to. But I put a bit too much in it, but it's all good. And the PO box is in the description below. Also, if you want to send us something, I'll always put that in there because you guys are asking for it. But let's get into this video.
Hi, English Mariner John Strong. Hi, Anthony Carey, 5th Viscount of Falkland. I would very much like for you to go to Chile and locate the wreck of a Spanish treasure ship for me. Okay. Hey, I found some islands. The English were probably not the first to discover the Falklands, but they were the first to write it down. They found it to be cold, wet, and miserable. Just like home. So they established a colony in 1765, unaware that the French had also discovered the islands and done the same a year earlier. And for a while the two were unaware of each other's existence until presumably there was an awkward moment where they ran into each other. Then the Spanish showed up and told the French that a couple hundred years earlier, the Pope drew a line on a map and said all of this belongs to Portugal and all of this belongs to Spain, and that the island was in Spain's territory and they would like the French to hand over their settlement. Now, since the two were good friends and Spain was willing to pay in cash money, the French obliged. But since they were still a little bitter about the recent 7 Years' War thing, they made sure to warn the Spanish not to let those dirty English on the other side of the island take over. So Spain went over to the English and explained, Pope, line on map, Spain's island. And the English said, yeah, right, this is our island. But the Spanish had more guns, so they kicked them off anyway. But then England threatened to go to war. So Spain went to their friends in France and said, hey, it looks like stuff is about to go down. You in on this? And the French Minister of War said, yeah, and we'll launch a full-scale invasion of England and party like it's 1066. But then King Louis XV said, 1, you're insane, and 2, you're fired. Sorry, Spain, we're not ready for a war right now. So Spain had to give the English their settlement back, saying it's still our island, and the English said, no, it's our island. Then some colonists in North America got a bit rowdy, so the English had to leave their settlement to go focus on that, but they left behind a plaque that said this is totally still our island. So the island was in Spanish hands, but then a French guy, no, not that one, turned on the Spanish, took over most of the country, and captured King Ferdinand VII. And in response, the Spanish colonies in South America started vying for independence. So Spain had a little bit on its hands and also had to leave the islands. And for a couple decades, the islands were left uninhabited except for the penguins, some fishermen, and the gauchos, which are basically like cowboys but cooler and Spanisher. A merchant from Hamburg living in the now independent United Provinces of the Rio de la Plata heard about the feral cattle roaming the Falklands and thought it would be a good way to make some money. So he got permission from both Buenos Aires and the British government to set up trade there as a private venture. Some American ships came down and began hunting whales and seals around the islands, and Vernet wasn't too happy about it. So he asked Buenos Aires for some military assistance in defending the islands, but Buenos Aires said, meh, do it yourself, gave him some weapons, and appointed him governor of the islands. So he seized the US ships and arrested their crews. In response, 2 things happened. First, America came down and said, nice settlement you have there, would be a shame if someone destroyed it. And then they destroyed it. Second, Britain heard Vernet had been appointed governor, meaning the United Provinces, actually now the Argentine Confederation, were officially claiming the islands as theirs. So Britain showed up and said, hey, didn't you see our plaque? And since they had more guns, they kicked them off the island. And the Falklands remained firmly in British hands for the next century. They officially became a crown colony in 1840. Port Stanley became the island's capital in 1845. The cattle hides from the island weren't worth much, so they imported sheep from Britain in 1851. 2 world wars came and went, and all this time the Argentinians never rescinded their claim over the islands. Now it's 1976, and after a couple civil wars, a new brutal military dictatorship sponsored by the US fight against communism has taken control in Argentina. And by 1981, this guy was in power. The economy had been struggling for a long time, and Galtieri had been unable to improve the situation. Now, if you ever find yourself the brutal military leader of a struggling South American country and you start getting into hot water, here's a bit of advice that has been tried and tested throughout the centuries. Start a war to distract everyone from their misery. Galtieri knew how popular he would be if he could finally take back Argentina's last Malvinas from the occupying British. There had been proposals to cut British military spending, and the ice patrol vessel HMS Endurance had been withdrawn from the area. So the Argentinians assumed the British may not even bother doing anything about the invasion. After easily capturing the largely uninhabited South Georgia island, 600 Argentine troops were sent to the Falklands. The small number of Royal Marines and other British forces stationed there put up a small amount of resistance, but in the end had to surrender to the larger Argentine force. Crowds in Argentina celebrated the news, but they were wrong to assume the British would do nothing, because the person in charge of the United Kingdom at the time was this lady. Thatcher was a somewhat controversial prime minister.
I have never heard of like the Falkland War, so this is like a lot of taking all the back and forth. You know, it's interesting to me in the video when they said that like Britain left the island, but they had this black on the ground, and people would see like, hey, this is Britain's territory, like do not touch it. And this is just interesting to me. It's very interesting. Like decades have gone back. There were cows on there at one point. Then they got sheep, I think. Yeah. Like it's a lot of taking out, just processing this as we're going through it. Like it's just like a lot. Like wow, so much happened. And this was like from the 1700s, I believe, till recently, until he's like what 1970 that war happened. So am I rambling or are you catching that? I don't know.
No, I'm listening.
I'm like, am I rambling or am I?
No. You're good. I'm just listening to you. Normally I interject, but I'm like,
yeah,
I'm listening.
This is a lot to take in. Like I'm just all like processing this like live. Like wow.
Good. Let's continue.
But whether you loved her or hated her, there was no denying that she was tough, like metal. Iron, for example. She immediately declared an exclusion zone around the islands and organized for a task force of over 100 ships to set sail for the Falklands. The United Nations expressed concern at the Argentine invasion. All South American nations apart from Chile backed Argentina. And since the United States had propped up the Argentine dictatorship, Reagan went to Thatcher and said, "Could you maybe just let them have the islands?" And Thatcher said no. Okay, here, have some weapons. Fighting a war over 8,000 miles from home was a logistical challenge for the British. They requisitioned civilian cruise ships and containers, and they used British-owned Ascension Island as a forward base. By the time they arrived at the Falklands in May...
Sorry, that whole thing right there between Reagan and Thatcher. That thing happened so much more than we know. That other countries will not get involved in the war, but they will definitely supply the weapons.
I can never seem to wrap my mind around that.
Supply you what you need to get the job done, whatever weapons or money.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy to me, especially America right now with all that's going on. We're not gonna get too deep into that, but your own people are suffering. Your own people can barely. Yeah, we're not gonna get into that. It's just crazy to me. And like, why would you just fund a war? But you're not gonna get involved in it, but like you're just giving them weapons, money, like just even sometimes you eventually offer them your military people down there to help support. It's just crazy to me. That just popped in my mind. I just had to say that. Sorry.
No, there's no need to apologize. Okay. I'm just saying. I'm like, it's crazy that you do that. I'm not getting involved, but here.
Yeah.
You are involved.
You are. But what's the saying in America? You throw a rock, but you hide your hands. It wasn't me.
It turned shocking out.
The Argentine forces had time to entrench themselves. The first task for the British was to gain control of the seas, which they did easily. On the 2nd of May, a British submarine sank an Argentine cruiser. The sinking was controversial, as it occurred outside the British exclusion zone. It was also the largest loss of life in a single incident during the war. And in response, the Argentine Navy withdrew from the islands. The next task for the British was to gain air superiority. While the Argentine Air Force controlled the skies, they were able to inflict considerable damage on the Royal Navy below. Days after the sinking of the General Belgrano, 2 Argentine superetendars carried out a raid on the HMS Sheffield and sank it with an Exocet missile. For weeks, the Argentine Air Force would continue to carry out raids and inflict heavy casualties on the Royal Navy, with British Sea Harriers doing their best to take out as many of the Argentine air.
Sorry, another thing coming in my mind. Why are they going so hard for this little island? What resources did it have that they were going this hard?
So that's what I thought when I did it over at Island Girlz, because I'm like, okay,
this makes no sense.
Some oil must be under there.
Oil, something gotta be.
But you're gonna see why.
Okay, something, because it makes no sense. All these lives lost over some sheep being sold on the land. I'm sorry.
It's just sheep being sold.
Sheep and cow being sold and traded. Something has to be there.
Aircraft as they could. While the battle in the skies raged on, San Carlos was chosen as the best landing site for the British ground forces. An SAS raid took out Argentine defenses on Pebble Island, and the HMS Alacrity sailed through Falklands Sound to flush out any Argentine supply ships. The landings began on May 21st, with Argentine aircraft carrying out full-scale raids on the task force ships taking part in the landing, damaging several and sinking a few. But anti-aircraft cannons and Sea Harriers shot down many of the aircraft in what became a major turning point for air superiority, and a beachhead was successfully formed. Then the ground troops began their movements out of San Carlos, across the north towards Stanley, and south toward the Argentine stronghold at Goose Green. In the following battles, a clear trend emerged. The Argentine conscripts put up a good fight, and with the rough, muddy terrain, the war was by no means easy for the British. But with highly skilled Royal Marine commanders and parachute regiment troops, the British would often find themselves taking on larger numbers of Argentinian soldiers, but would still come out victorious with minimal casualties. The 14-hour-long battle for Goose Green commenced on the...
That is like that, okay.
They're strategic.
They're
They're
super
just
strategic.
every time you watch a video like this and you hear, listen, they're always so small in number,
They
but they
are.
always come out on top.
Always gives me the David and Goliath.
Yeah,
I just picture that right now because they had so many. Argentina had so many soldiers, and you just saw that in the picture in the video. Like they had Argentina like a bunch of people, while Britain had like probably 5 or 6.
It's crazy.
Minimal casualties. That's amazing. That is amazing.
And that's one of the things that I love because I just did a video over on Island why they fight.
Oh,
But I need you to see that video.
Yes, I am interested.
And it's
definitely.
crazy. I'm not gonna say much, but I'm like, when you look at it, you're like, so many against the small amount, and then the small amount beating out the so many. You guys know where I'm going with this, but I love. Not that I love war, but I just like that because what are you fighting for?
Yeah,
so if you're standing behind somebody who's fighting for stupidness, then you gotta go too. See what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying I'm on truth on Britain's side. Sorry.
The night of May 28th, the battle ended in a decisive British victory, with over 900 Argentinians surrendering. Then, with 5,000 reinforcements arriving from the 5th Infantry Brigade, the British started preparing for their final assault on Stanley. In a series of hard-fought battles, they took control of the hills and mountains surrounding the town, as the Argentine forces withdrew, with British ships shelling their positions from offshore. Utterly surrounded, on the 14th of June, the Argentinians surrendered, and the war was over. The 2-month-long war...
Ain't that crazy? 2 months. Not 2 years, not 4 years, not 10 years, 2 months. I like that because it was quick and done. I'm not condoning wars because wars are not, something to
outcome
applaud.
Is
always not good. But the amount of casualties compared to like 10 years,
that's a lot.
It's still a lot. It's
in
still
such
a lot.
Short space of time.
It is though. It is still a lot. But
somebody's opening up a candy, guys. You hear the paper rustling? All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is crazy, don't it?
It is. Because I would think this was long, but this is only 2 months. I was thinking maybe 2 years.
But Thatcher wasn't playing.
Oh,
Margaret was like,
Mama's ain't playing. She said, I know what time it is.
She's like, nope, we are.
She told Reagan no. She said,
like,
nope.
We're starting this war. I ain't letting it go.
I want to know what they were fighting for because this makes no sense to me till now. Okay. I gotta know what it was. I have to know.
And left the islands strewn with minefields that still pose a problem to this day. Argentina still claims the islands, but in 2013 a referendum was held, and the islanders voted 99.
You know how recent that is?
That's what I'm saying. 2013.
Oh my goodness.
Still,
and look at those numbers. How embarrassing.
That's what I'm saying.
And you still want to claim that early? I'm sorry. Wow.
And the people that were there were British. So what is your problem? What you're fighting for? It's not. They're not speaking yet.
No.
What is the problem? What are you fighting for? Anybody wants you there, and you're still fighting for territory.
I gotta know what it is, baby.
8% in favor of remaining British. Plus, oil was just found near the islands. So
there it is.
That's what it was. Oil, of course.
They knew something was there.
Oh, okay, that makes
sense. Remember, I said it earlier. They had to be fighting for some form of oil, something. They have value. Yeah, because people don't just get up and I can't say that because Hitler was another one. So I can't even say it like that. Because I'm like, people don't get up and just fight for no reason.
No.
But some people do. They're just miserable in their skin.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you have it.
That makes sense with the oil. That makes total sense.
So the British probably aren't going to give them up anytime soon.
You see what he said?
That makes sense. That oil, it's good money. That makes sense. Because it made no sense to me. Y'all going this hard over this island.
That is cold and wet and nobody want to be there.
Just sounds like home. Sounds like home. That was so funny you said that. But wow. I love history. Because you just look back into history, you learn more. You always learn something new.
Yep.
And like I said, history always repeats itself. And it's so funny because when you study history, you'll see like, oh, this just happened. Oh, that just happened.
And why are people learning? That's one of the things I look at. I'm like, have you not learned anything?
Girl, you have not learned.
To me, learn from what happened, man. Take a page out of that and say, you know what? Let's make this better. Let's not go down this road. People don't think.
No.
Majority of people don't think. This world is run by greed and
pure evilness.
Yeah.
Just pure wicked people.
It's like, oh, divide and conquer. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter where in the world you
Divide
are.
and
Divide and
conquer.
conquer will be good.
Doesn't hurt. It doesn't matter who you hurt on the way.
As long as don't hurt me.
Yeah, don't hurt me. Don't hurt my family. But let me get what I need to get.
This was
Crazy.
vicious.
But stay
Vicious,
safe, guys.
Yeah, be
Be
good.
safe.
Be kind, people. Love each
Mhm.
other. Let us know in the comment section what you'd like us to check out next.
Yeah.
We got you. Love you guys, and we'll see you guys in another one.
Bye.